In our series, The World After Coronavirus, we will be talking to Michael Kugelman. Michael is at the Woodrow Wilson Center, and we're going to ask him what he thinks the world after COVID might look like in South Asia.
I guess I would see it through three lenses. One is good, the other is bad, and the third one is uncertain. So starting in terms of the good, for me, I think one thing that we'll see is that governments in the region will finally recognize how serious the notion of non-traditional security threats are, what I would describe as human security threats. And you know this well. Things like climate change, water resource shortages, energy shortages, these are all and have long been major concerns. Public health challenges have long been concerns as well, but after coronavirus, I think it will have been brought home to governments in the region that you have countries with severely under-resourced, overtaxed systems and institutions in the health sector. Coronavirus showed that. So I would think that finally we'll have a recognition on the part of policymakers that more needs to be done against the threat of these challenges that have nothing to do with war, but that have a lot to do with threats to human security. In terms of why the region will be, the result could be bad, I do think the India-Pakistan problem will come out even worse. So I think the fact that you have this incredibly unprecedented crisis that affects both India and Pakistan equally, coronavirus, the fact that you did not have India and Pakistan cooperating even on that, I think does not bode well. A second thing that I think will be unfortunate is economics. The key economies of South Asia had been struggling even before the coronavirus pandemic set in. India experienced a number of slowdowns in all of its key sectors. Pakistan had been suffering through a significant balance of payments crisis. And yet the coronavirus clearly will have major economic impacts. Even in a country like Bangladesh, which had been one of the success stories of South Asia, major impacts to its garment industry, which is one of the biggest in the world, coming out of the coronavirus crisis. So that will be a major challenge for the region. I think that these economic problems could strengthen populist leaders, anti-democratic leaders that I think could exacerbate the democratic backsliding that we've already been seeing in most countries of the region, to be quite honest. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, so many countries. So I think that could get worse. Finally, we can expect that the South Asia is going to be a place where there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, mainly for two reasons. One is that China's role in South Asia will be very unclear to me. That's one of the biggest geopolitical stories in South Asia over the last few years, mainly through the vehicle of China's Belt and Road Initiative. But after coronavirus, China's economy will presumably have suffered. It's unclear how much it's going to be willing to be out there trying to do more things with the Belt and Road Initiative. And just as significantly, the countries that are hosting Belt and Road Initiative, these are countries that had already been experiencing some concerns and hesitation about the Belt and Road Initiative because the loans that they were getting and the debt problems that was causing. If these countries are coming out of coronavirus with their economies completely shattered, I think that could make it less likely for them to want to continue with these investments. So that's why I would sort of bookend this little note with this suggestion that, we could say some things will look good in South Asia, some will look bad, but there are plenty of things we just don't know how things are going to look. It comes down to all three. There's really no Goldilocks factor at all.
Any further thoughts on Afghanistan, already an uncertain place? What might it look like after COVID?
A global pandemic has, it can turn the world inside out, and that's what's happened. But one thing that a global pandemic won't necessarily do is end a war. Now, the Taliban does control a fair amount of territory in Afghanistan, and I think one interesting question is, these are areas where the Taliban actually provides basic services. It really functions as a shadow government. Is the Taliban making efforts to stem the spread of coronavirus in areas that it controls? I don't know. I don't know if it has the resources to do that. I fear that after the coronavirus has ended, you're going to have key external players, the U.S., but other key members of the international donor community, that will be so shattered economically that providing financial support to Afghanistan, which has been Afghanistan's lifeline, will be increasingly difficult to do. When we look at Afghanistan, I just think that we're really not going to have made much progress at all. And there were enough problems to start with, even without coronavirus. My bottom line is that the coronavirus will make peace even more of an elusive thing in Afghanistan than it had already been.